So from 1919 until 2004, we operated a white tablecloth fine dining restaurant as kind of a scion of Southern hospitality. And the strongest thing we served was black coffee. I recently graduated from college, and this legislation changed, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, DIXON, what do you think we should do? And I said, we need to put in a bar. And we put in a bourbon bar, a bourbon bar. And then we put in a second bourbon bar because that bourbon bar wasn't big enough. I started doing a lot of tastings, and what I started to realize was like, I really like talking to people about bourbon, talking to people about the nuance of bourbon, the history of bourbon, but not in a real obnoxious, pretentious sense, but in like a real, like the way that I drink it, the way that I taste it, the way that the people that I kind of look up to talk about it. It's more about the feel, right? The feel, not notes of caramelized giraffe hoof and toasted marzipan, and you know, it's about the, make it approachable. And so I was approached with this opportunity to develop, to resurrect this old family brand we had, and we truly did it as a lark. Like, it was totally, if no one buys it, I'll have a bunch of whiskey to pour it in my kids' wedding. It's not a joke. But that was the plan. And it did better than that. I released Kentucky Owl in 2014. And it was a life changer, game changer, to the extent that like I needed something else, like I needed a hole in the head, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. And I made the decision to partner with Story Group in 2017 because we had this kind of glass ceiling situation. We then took it national and a bit international, and that relationship, I will never, ever, I do not regret that decision. It was the best decision I ever made. It was absolutely incredible. I learned all the things I didn't know, and I learned a ton of things that I never wanted to do again. It got to this point where I said, okay, their vision, my vision, two very, very, very different visions. Their direction, my direction, two different directions. And then, after making the kind of easiest decision, I made the hardest decision, which was to step away, which was to leave something that I kind of created and had really put my heart and soul into it. But I said, life's too short. And I can't do something that I don't believe in. I can't put my name on something that I don't believe in. And so walked away from that and said, washing dishes is okay, and dusting tables is okay. But I started doing the consulting thing. That was fine. Consulting is a lot about putting out other people's fires. And that's hard too. And so I really started ideating and working towards this new concept and really kind of getting back into something that I could really put my thumbprint on, put my stamp on, and say was something that I had truly created, and it was different and unique. And that's really where I got to with 2XO. I have always believed that, yes, you can make great whiskey when you put it in a barrel and put it in a rick house and let it sit there for a really long time. And you can hope and you can pray and you can do whatever you got to do to pay homage to the guys that it's going to turn out all right. For me, I like actually being involved in that process. I like being involved in that process of maturation, and that's where the entire 2XO concept came from. 2XO stands for 2 times oak. Everything in this line, everything that you're going to taste tonight, everything in 2XO has double oak interaction during the process of maturation. When I first started in this crazy business, I was talking to the Jimmy Russells and the Jim Rutledges and these people, and they would, the truth is, 15% of what you taste in a finished product that you think is good is distillation. 85% of that is maturation. Distilleries are big industrial production facilities pumping out the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again. It's when that liquid goes into that barrel goes into that rick house. That rick house is multiple microclimates within there that have different aging cycles, different pressure cycles. That liquid in that barrel, the time it spends being forced into the oak and being and contracting back out of the oak, that's what makes that liquid special. Its maturation is what makes whiskey real whiskey. And so I was thought, well, if a little oak is good, a little more can be bad thing, right? That's really kind of how I started the Kentucky Ale process, was saying, hey, yeah, I am sourcing liquid, but how do I make it my own? Well, I'm going to make it my own by taking it out of the barrel it was originally put in. I'm going to put it in a new barrel. I'm going to put that barrel in different locations in the different rick houses. And I'm going to create different profiles across those barrels that I can use to blend. And I've leaned on that all the way through 2XO. So we've leaned on that through 2XO. The idea with 2XO is that it's all about that additional oak interaction. The name 2XO, the brand, the concept is about the process of developing the whiskey. I did the heritage brand thing. I did the thing about telling a story about what happened in 1870 something. I wasn't going to name the brand Old Milk Jug. I wasn't going to name the brand about some mule that hauled slop up a hill in 1842. I wasn't going to name a brand or talk to a brand about, we only use corn that is grown by Amish people in eastern Kentucky and fertilized with grass-fed alpaca manure. This is about the whiskey itself, developing the whiskey itself. And that's really where we got to with 2XO. The whole thing was about being unique, looking different, looking modern, a different look on American whiskey, but about that double oak interaction. So you had the cocktail that had American oak in it. The first pour is also American oak. I'm assuming it goes with the first pours. What we've done with this is I've taken 5.5 to 6-year-old barrels of bourbon with an 18% rye mash bill. In each barrel, once they hit that 5.5 to 6-year mark, I insert a 10-foot chain of charred American white oak into the barrel. The surface area on that chain is the equivalent surface area of a new oak barrel itself. So it's double barreling, but by insertion as opposed to taking the liquid out and putting it in a new barrel. I was gonna double barrel this, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. When I first started Kentucky Ale, barrels cost between $150 and $160. Barrels cost between $275 and $325 now. As we say down in Mercer County, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting somebody that's opening a distillery. There's a lot of barrels coming online. Guess what? There's not enough of it. Oak. These trees take 25 to 30 years to mature. We're all, barrels are going short. So I work with a company in California to create basically it simulates the concept of double barreling, but it's by insertion as opposed to taking that liquid out and putting it in a new barrel, which is too hard to come back. The reason for the lesson that enjoy it, the lesson is the entire program of 2XO is not, well, I'll tell you, it's built on one thing, and that's building complexity. So complexity is oftentimes, to me anyway, misunderstood. Complexity is not, oh, I taste vanilla, and I taste nutmeg, and I taste toffee, and I taste
vanilla,
milk chocolate. You know what those things are? Those are all sweet things. I don't know if you know this, but your palate works in a very interesting way. Your palate, you taste sweet on the front of your palate. You taste savory in the middle of your palate. You taste spice on the back of your palate. You taste bitter and acid and sour on the sides of your palate. So a lot of times we get confused when all these whiskey nerds tell us about all these notes that they taste, but they're all describing things you taste on one portion of your palate. My goal with 2XO is to create complexity on the palate, not because you taste a bunch of different notes, but because you feel it in different regions on the palate. American oak is designed so that there's sweetness on the front of your palate, there's savory notes in the middle, and then there's spice on the back. It moves from front to back across the palate. That's complexity. Complexity is not, oh, I taste a whole bunch of different spices on the back. Complexity is, wow, I get sweet, and I get savory, and I get spice. That's what that was the goal with American Oak, to be an everyday, easy drinker, on the rock, on a cube, neat, in a cocktail. You kill it on Tuesday, you replace it on Wednesday. But it has that movement, and there's more to it than just your other everyday $40 pour. So I'm way over my time, which is the story of my life. Enjoy the course, American Oak on the left, look for that complexity, and then y'all can ask me a bunch of questions or make fun of me later.
That being said, that was DIXON. Dropping this, what are your thoughts? I think we learned a lot about the palate. There you have it. Stay tuned, and we're going to dive in, and we'll come back later. Cheers.
That's dressed with a strawberry vinaigrette, and we've also got some bouillon, carrots, and radishes. So, as a start, and we look forward to the second course. Thank you.